How you doing? Welcome to episode number 799 of NoDQ&A video, only one away from 800 episodes. Thank you all so much for your support. Now before I get to the questions today, real quick, I wanted to mention the NXT event in Portland, Oregon this coming weekend. I will be there for that event. I also planned a small meetup for before the show. If you're interested in attending and by any chance you're in the Portland area, I will be posting a link in the description box to the event page. You can also message me on Facebook for details. Now that I got that out of the way, let's get down to your questions today coming off Monday Night Raw. First one today comes from Jishnu. Hey Aaron, why is WWE calling the group of AJ, Carl, and Luke the Club instead of giving them a proper name? Please answer in video. I have gotten a lot of people asking me about that, and I'm not really sure what the deal is. It could just be that the writers had to come up with something, and rather than call it the Balor Club, I mean, they cannot call it the Balor Club without Finn Balor, and there's been speculation over the past several months about it possibly being called Bulletproof. Maybe WWE's not sure the long-term direction of this group. Maybe this is just a short-term deal with Anderson and Gallows being teamed up with AJ, so the writers said, to hell with it. Let's just call them the Club for now until we figure out what the hell we're doing with this storyline. That's really the best answer I can give you. I think the name is a bit lame, just like when Hall, Nash, and X-Pac were in TNA and they were called the Band. It was really dumb then, and this is dumb as well. Alright, this one comes from Hab Connell. Is Roman Reigns just going to kick out of every damn finisher that's done to him? Yes, because Roman Reigns is the WWE Champion and he is Superman as far as WWE is concerned. I've gotten a lot of different opinions about Monday Night Raw. Some people were unhappy about Roman looking so strong as he usually does and Anderson and Gallows looking weak. Roman Reigns spearing both of them. I thought the angle was well done. I mean, at the end of the day, it's about building up Roman Reigns versus AJ. And when Roman Reigns is the WWE Champion, you want to make the champion as strong as possible. But at the same time, you want to have the challenger be strong. And I thought the way WWE did it, they made both Reigns and AJ look strong in that segment. Neither guy backing down to the other. And the chess match that's being played between the two of them, I did feel it was well done, and I know some people out there will say that Anderson and Gallows got sacrificed in that segment. Like I said, it's about selling the Extreme Rules pay-per-view and selling the main event of Roman Reigns versus AJ Styles and getting the people emotionally invested in that match. That is the ultimate goal. And on this episode of Raw, it worked because the fans were doing the dual chants for both guys. And that is a sign that the fans are emotionally invested in the main event. And that is what is most important when all is said and done. Alright, this one comes from Wrestling Guy 18. Hey Aaron, has Finn Balor's debut now been held off to Extreme Rules, or are WWE going in a different direction after he didn't appear? I've gotten so many questions about Finn Balor. When's he debuting? What is the deal? The reality is that he could really debut at any time now. He could show up on Raw next week. He might not show up on Raw for another couple of months. Who knows? I mean, at the very least, he has the rematch with Samoa Joe coming up at the next TakeOver special. Now, I know Kevin Owens was on the main roster and still making NXT appearances, but maybe WWE wants to keep Balor off of the main roster until he is completely done in NXT. That very well could be the case. Or, going back to earlier, WWE just doesn't know what the hell they want to do with Finn Balor and with the Club, and there's no clear direction for this storyline. Alright, this one comes from Cheese. Since Chris Jericho is now here to stay, or so it seems, don't you think he could easily elevate the US title if he wanted? Sure, Chris Jericho could elevate the title, but really, I think that you should have somebody get elevated from being the champion rather than having a top star win the title to elevate it. It would be nice to have a rising star in WWE win the title, somebody who's being groomed to be the future of the company and potentially a number one contender for the world title, just like back in the day, the US title was held by somebody who was the number one contender for the world title, and the IC title was considered a stepping stone to the world title. It wasn't a title where the old stars from the past were holding on to it. It was all about the future talent that were champion. Alright, this one comes from Ben Jarman. Do you think Drew McIntyre had main event potential in WWE, and do you think he could get re-signed? I think that he was doing well in WWE during his run, and who knows how far he would have gone. I think he peaked in 2010 with that Teddy Long storyline. Unfortunately, he had some personal issues with his then wife Tiffany, and their whole thing became public, and I think that that really hurt Drew's chances at a push. I think that that perhaps did some damage, and we'll never know for sure how far he would have gone in WWE. Now, is there a chance he'll be brought back at some point? Never say never. I mean, that's the thing I'll always say. But he is the TNA champion right now, and WWE's focusing on new stars. I suppose if the timing was right, he was in the right place at the right time, and the right offer came along, and the stars were all aligned and everything fell into place, he could end up back in WWE, but I'm not expecting that to happen. Alright, this one comes from Mr. Yuck. Do you have any friggin' clue where or what happened to GFW? They are still doing shows. They got a show coming up in June, and they are going to be bringing in some of the guys that have already been released by WWE. Damian Sandow is being featured on the poster for this event that is affiliated with GFW. So yes, they are still alive. They're doing TNA's thing right now. They're bringing in the former WWE talent to their shows. And of course, Jeff Jarrett's doing his whole Global Force Gold scheme, or whatever you want to call it, although he really hasn't said much about it lately, so maybe that is just being put to bed and that's over with already. Who knows? But yeah, GFW is still out there, and they're trying to gain some traction in one way or another. Alright, this one comes from Brett. Recently, I've heard a lot of negative talk on YouTube about Heenan, like he shouldn't be seen in public because of his cancer. Your thoughts? Bobby Heenan has been dealing with a lot of health issues, and especially recently he had a bad fall and was hospitalized, and I'm glad that Bobby Heenan is home and doing well. Now, I want to say this. I am really proud of Bobby Heenan for not being afraid to go out in public and live his life. What happened to him was terrible. He had to have his jaw removed because of his cancer, and it definitely took a toll on him physically. But he is still going out there doing the appearances and keeping his sense of humor, and I think that that is awesome. I think that that is amazing that he has the courage to go out there and just continue living his life rather than hide away and be a hermit. So hats off to Bobby Heenan, incredible human being, and one of the all-time greatest performers in the history of our industry. I mean, Bobby Heenan is a one-of-a-kind human being and character in the wrestling business. I'm just happy that he is back home and he's hanging in there. I mean, he's been through so much, and it's just good to have some good news every now and then about Bobby Heenan. Alright, this one comes from Devon. Why were the Wyatt family on the poster for Payback if they weren't even on it? Simple answer. They all got hurt. Or I should say Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper got hurt. And more importantly, Bray Wyatt got hurt, which really just canceled all the plans. I've been asked about what was going to happen with the Wyatt family. Originally, it was supposed to be the Wyatt family versus the League of Nations in a 6-person tag match. And then, of course, Bray got hurt, and WWE decided to just can the League of Nations because it wasn't going anywhere, even though they won at WrestleMania. That just goes to show how short-sighted WWE is. They have League of Nations beat their hottest act, the New Day, or one of their hottest acts, and then the group breaks up 3 weeks later. But, you know, they weren't expecting Bray Wyatt to get hurt. Alright, this one comes from Penelo 14. Why do you think the main title match gets 2 resets but the women's title doesn't get any? Does it link to what Brett said? We have to keep in mind that the women's match at Payback was before the announcement that Shane and Stephanie were both going to be running Raw. Although, wouldn't Shane have been able to do something, or Vince been able to do something? And I'm going to get myself all worked up here, but if Shane and Stephanie are running Raw, why were they able to get involved in the main event at Payback when that's not Raw? But, I mean, why are we trying to look for logic here? It's just going to drive us all nuts. But, yeah, stop asking me questions about WWE's reasoning and logic and what they're trying to do, because there really is none. It's WWE. Alright, this one comes from Joshua. Please answer in video. Since Vince has been heard commentating that he doesn't like NXT, is it likely that no NXT guy will get a push? The NXT guys are getting pushed right now. Big Cass had a big role on Raw despite Enzo being hurt. Sami Zayn's getting a push. He's been on TV a lot. Kevin Owens has been doing really well. The NXT guys are getting pushed. So it's hard to say how much of that is true and how much of it is just rumor and gossip and speculation that Vince is not an NXT fan. I mean, I'm sure he's a fan of it, but we all know Vince's mentality. He prefers sports entertainment over pure wrestling. And NXT is more focused on wrestling than sports entertainment and shenanigans. I'm sure Vince was impressed with guys like Nakamura. Now, Vince is slowly starting to lose his power, although he still makes the final decisions. Triple H is gaining more power and more influence. And I think Vince is just trusting in Triple H, that Triple H knows what he's doing, and he knows that this is the future, and as long as the business continues to be strong, WWE continues to make money, Vince isn't going to make too big a deal out of it. I really doubt that he just flat out hates NXT and feels it's not making money, because clearly it is. Clearly, when NXT is going to these 15,000 seat buildings and selling out the place, something's working there, and I think Vince realizes this. Alright, this one comes from Matt Trenchman. 2 questions. Firstly, what do you see Cena doing upon return? And secondly, would AJ Lee and Bayley have had a good program? I'm sure AJ Lee and Bayley would have worked well together, but we'll never get to see that now, so it's a what if. I think regarding John Cena, what he does, he very well could get involved in the US title again, especially if Rusev wins. We could see a repeat of that storyline. But I'm guessing eventually John Cena will be back in the main event title picture. I mean, John Cena versus Roman Reigns, to me, is inevitable that match will happen. Will it take place at SummerSlam? Will it take place at WrestleMania? That remains to be seen, but one would think that match is somewhere in the future in WWE over the next year. Alright, this one comes from Noah Caboose. Where is Cain? Simple question. Cain is being phased out because WWE is focusing on the new talent. The emphasis is on the Sami Zayns and the Kevin Owens and all the new people called up from NXT. Big Show, Cain, Mark Henry, these guys are being phased out. They'll still be around every now and then to make special appearances, and they'll still appear at the live events, but WWE is focusing, and rightfully so, on the new talent. Hey Aaron, first time asker. Do you feel like Big Cass could possibly get too much singles momentum if Enzo's gone too long? That's always a concern, that Vince might be so high on Big Cass because of his size that Vince decides to break up the tag team, but I think that people will talk him out of that. If Enzo comes back in the near future, there's definitely no need to break up the team, and I mentioned this in one of the previous videos. That team has a lot of mileage, and even though Big Cass did a good job on Raw with his promo and just his whole demeanor, I think it's too soon for him to have a singles run. I think that unless Enzo's going to be gone for a long period of time, you keep those guys together and you let them have their run as a tag team before you split them up and do individual pushes. That's just my opinion, at least. Alright, that'll wrap it up for episode number 799. Please spread the word. 1 episode away now until 800. NoDQ.com has got you covered with all the latest Extreme Rules, news, rumors, and of course, live results coverage of the pay-per-view event. And with that being said, I will see you guys next time for episode number 800.